Good evening, my friends. Back to read more to you from the book of Dr. Luke. Are y'all ready? Get your helmet on, fasten your seatbelt, pull it snug. A little bit of redneck rant at the end of this video. Not a lot, but a little. But you got to listen all the way through, and no cheating. Don't fast forward through the good stuff to get to the redneck rant. You listen to the whole thing. My dear friends, I love y'all. I appreciate every one of you. Here we go. Chapter 9 of Luke. Then he called his 12 disciples together and gave them power and authority over all things, over devils, and to cure diseases. Bam, y'all. That would be pretty awesome. That would be very awesome. And he sent them to preach the kingdom of God and to heal the sick. And he said unto them, take nothing for your journey, neither slaves, nor scrip, neither bread, neither money, neither have 2 coats apiece. In other words, go in faith, believing God to take care of all your needs. Bam again, y'all. How often do we do that? Faith is powerful if you got it. And whatsoever house ye enter into, there abide, and thence depart. This is Jesus speaking. And whosoever will not receive you when you go out of that city, shake off the very dust from your feet for a testimony against them. And they departed and went through the towns, preaching the gospel and healing everywhere. Now Herod the Tetrarch heard of all that was done by him, and he was perplexed, because that it was said of some that John was risen from the dead, and of some that Elias had appeared, and of others that one of the old prophets was risen again. And Herod said, John I have beheaded, but who is this of whom I hear such things? And he desired to see him. And the apostles, when they were returned, told him all that they had done. And he took them and went aside privately into a desert place belonging to the city called Bethsaida. And the people, when they knew it, followed him, and he received them and spake unto them of the kingdom of God. When you see strangers, what do you talk to them about? The kingdom of God? And he healed them that had need of healing. And when the day began to wear away, then came the 12 and said unto him, send the multitude away, that they may go into the towns and country round about, and lodge and get victuals, for we are here in a desert place. They need to work on their faith a little bit more. But Jesus said to them, Give ye them to eat. And they said, We have no more but 5 loaves and 2 fishes, except we should go and buy meat for all this people. For they were about 5,000 men. And he said to his disciples, Jesus said to his disciples, Make them sit down by 50s in a company. And they did so and made them all sit down. Then Jesus took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed them and brake and gave to the disciples to set before the multitude. And they did eat and were all filled. There was taken up fragments that remained to them 12 baskets. And it came to pass, as he was alone praying, his disciples were with him, and he asked them, saying, Whom say the people that I am? They answering said, John the Baptist, but some say Elias, and others say that one of the old prophets is risen again. And Jesus said unto them, But whom say ye that I am? Peter answering said, The Christ of God, the Messiah of God. And he straitly charged them and commanded them to tell no man that thing, saying, The Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected of the elders and the chief priests and scribes, and be slain, and be raised the 3rd day. And Jesus said to them all, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross daily, and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, but whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. For what is a man advantaged if he gain the whole world and lose himself, or be cast away? For whosoever shall be ashamed of me and my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed, when he shall come in his own glory, and in his Father's, and of the holy angels. But I tell you a truth, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the kingdom of God. And it came to pass about 8 days after these sayings, he took Peter and John and James, and went up into a mountain to pray. And as he prayed, the fashion of his countenance was altered, and his raiment was white and glistening. And behold, there talked with him 2 men, which were Moses and Elias, who appeared in glory, and spake of his decease, which he should accomplish at Jerusalem. But Peter and they that were with him were heavy with sleep, and when they were awake, they saw his glory, and the 2 men that stood with him. And it came to pass, as they departed from him, Peter said unto Jesus, Master, it is good for us to be here, and let us make 3 tabernacles, one for thee, and one for Moses, and one for Elias, not knowing what he said. While he thus spake, there came a cloud and overshadowed them, and they feared as they entered into the cloud. And there came a voice out of the cloud, saying, This is my beloved Son, hear him. And the voice was past. When the voice was past, Jesus was found alone, and they kept it close, and told no man in those days any of those things which they had seen. And it came to pass that on the next day, when they were come down from the hill, much people met him, And behold, a man of the company cried out, saying, Master, I beseech thee, look upon my son, for he is mine only child. And lo, a spirit taketh him, and he suddenly crieth out, and it teareth him, that he foameth again, and bruising him hardly departeth from him. And I besought thy disciples to cast him out, and they could not. And Jesus answering said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you and suffer you? Bring thy son hither. And as he was yet coming, the devil threw him down and tare him. And Jesus rebuked the unclean spirit and healed the child and delivered him again to his father. And they were all amazed at the mighty power of God. But while they wondered, everyone, at all things which Jesus did, he said unto his disciples, Let these sayings sink down into your ears, for the Son of Man shall be delivered into the hands of men. But they understood not this saying, and it was hid from them, that they perceived it not, and they feared to ask him of that saying. Then there arose a reasoning among them, which of them should be greatest. And Jesus, perceiving the thought of their heart, took a child and set by him. And he said unto them, Whosoever shall receive this child in my name receiveth me. And whosoever shall receive me receiveth him that sent me. For he that is least among you all, the same shall be great. And John answered and said, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbade him, because he followeth not with us. And Jesus said unto him, Forbid him not, for he that is not against us is for us. And it came to pass, when the time was come that he should be received up, he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem, and sent messengers before his face, and they went and entered into a village of the Samaritans to make ready for him. And they did not receive him, because his face was as though he would go to Jerusalem. And when his disciples James and John saw this, they said, Lord, wilt thou that we command fire to come down from heaven and consume them, even as Elias did? And Jesus turned and rebuked them and said, Ye know not what manner of spirit ye are of. For the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village. And it came to pass that as they went in the way, a certain man said unto him, Lord, I will follow thee whithersoever thou goest. And Jesus said unto him, Foxes have holes, and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head. And he said unto another, Follow me. But he said, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father. And Jesus said unto him, Let the dead bury their dead, but go thou and preach the kingdom of God. I started to say I would be afraid if Jesus told me to do something. I would be afraid to tell him, but wait, let me go do this first. I would be scared. But then I thought, I've done that a million times probably. Not so much anymore. I'm pretty obedient to him now, but I have done it a lot, and that is not right, y'all. But he is the Lord. We are his slaves. We better be obedient. And another also said, Lord, I will follow thee, but let me first go bid them farewell, which are at home at my house. And Jesus said unto him, No man, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of God. Y'all want me to do chapter 10? No, I better not. We'll do chapter 10 tomorrow if we're still here, y'all. Now for a little redneck rant, and it's nothing. Well, I do have a serious request first. I've got a good friend, a retired pastor. He has a YouTube channel called Reverend, or it's REV, abbreviated. The YouTube, he said, wouldn't let him put the whole word Reverend out there. I don't know why, but it's REV dot pork chop. He's a good man. He lives in Arkansas. He's younger than me. He's 15 or 20 years younger than me. But I've asked y'all to pray for him several times lately, and I'm asking again, on top of everything else he's got wrong with him. Today they told him that he's got cancer in his intestines. And I told him he's just trying to keep up with me. I had cancer in my stomach and in my intestines, and I got rid of it. I didn't get rid of it. God got rid of it. I didn't take one treatment. It was stage 4 cancer in my stomach and intestines. And they said I had 3 to 4 months to live. And I told them, check me. They wanted to start chemo the next day. I said, check me out of the hospital and let me go home so I can pray in silence. And oncologist that they had assigned to me to tell me that wouldn't check me out. He said, no, you need treatment immediately. And so I had my little carry-on piece of luggage with me, and I got out when he left the room. I got out of bed and I started packing up my stuff, and I was going to walk out. And the hospital doctor came in and saw what I was doing, and he checked me out. And I went home and I prayed all night, y'all. That's the only time I ever prayed all night, but I did. And I never took a treatment. I got an email from the oncologist, told me, if you're not going to come in and get treated, said you better find a good hospice so they can make your last days as pain-free and as comfortable as possible. And I just laughed. I never even looked up hospice. It was rough. I suffered mightily from November 2015 to near the end of 2017. And then I started getting my strength back. There were some days I couldn't even get out of bed. I was so weak. I had my last wife was still with me, and she was awesome. She really took care of me. And then I started getting my strength back. I started going outside and working on my little farm, doing stuff a little at a time, and I finally got back to normal. And I never went back to get checked to see if the cancer is gone, but it has to be gone because that was 7 years ago, and I'm doing fine. But Reverend Porkchop, he's got his kidneys are failing. Mine totally failed in June of this year. Their output was 0%, and thank God. And I was taken by ambulance from the emergency room here in my little town hospital to the big hospital south of here, and admitted to ICU. And they saved my kidneys, and my kidneys are doing fine now. I was getting blood work done once a month. After I was in that hospital there a long time, but after I got back, they did blood work once a month, checking me, and they're doing good. I've had lung problems. I've got congestive heart failure now. I had, what is it? Heart problems. Well, that's besides the congestive heart failure. I've got a valve in my heart that's flittering when it's supposed to be fluttering, or vice versa. I don't understand it. It's not opening and closing the way it's supposed to, but it's doing its job, just not right. And I can't remember what all's been right. I've had, I don't know, don't have any idea how many bones broke in my body. 37 at one time. My neck broke in 3 places, paralyzed from the waist down, told I'd never walk again. And I walk. I don't walk good, but I walk. I was a runner back then before that accident. And when they told me I'd never walk again, I said, not only will I walk, but I'll run again. And I can run now, but it hurts so bad I don't do it anymore. I've been through the mill, so I can sympathize with Reverend Porkchop, and I love that man. He's got my prayers. I'm a fighter, and I don't know if he is. He doesn't. He seems like he's kind of given up. His little puppy friend that he's had for so many years died recently, and it seemed like after he lost his little dog, and it was just the two of them, like me and my kitty Callie now. But after he lost his little puppy, it seemed like he just kind of gave up on life. He's been in the hospital several times since then, and each time when he got out, he said he was going to go to a rest home, a nursing home. Evidently he didn't, because this time he's saying it again, and he has willed, and this is all stuff that I got from his video, he has willed his pickup to his granddaughter, and he's hoping she'll come to the hospital so he can give her the keys to it. So it sounds like to me he's kind of given up. Y'all just keep Reverend Porkchop in your prayers. His real name is Bud. And if you want to go to his channel, it's called Reverend R.E.V. Porkchop. And the way he got the name Porkchop, he said when he's a kid, kids teased him, told him that he was so ugly, he'd have to put a pork chop on his neck to attract a girl or something like that. And I guess he stuck to that name, because that's the name on his YouTube channel, Reverend Porkchop. You can go there and tell him you're praying for him if you feel led to. And my autistic friend, Michael, that I encouraged, he was always wanting me to tell my viewers this or that, or warn them about the tribulation and to be saved before the tribulation and just stuff like that. And I was doing it for a long time for him. And I started telling him, I said, you need to start your own channel. And he did, y'all. And his channel name is Weather, like the weather, W-E-A-T-H-E-R, the letter N, and L-O, Weather NLO 78. I'll put the link to his channel and to Reverend Pork Chops down in the description box somewhere, and y'all go tell Reverend Pork Chop you're praying for him and encourage him to fight. And if you feel so led, subscribe to Michael's channel, the autistic guy. He doesn't have but 100 and something subscribers, and all he talks about is the rapture and the tribulation. But his information is accurate, and he has a heart for Jesus. I tell you what, that guy loves Jesus, and he wants everybody to love Jesus. He has some neighbors and I think maybe some relatives or something that cusses a lot, and he doesn't like that, and they drink alcohol and he doesn't like that, and so he talks about stuff like that. But if you feel led, subscribe to his channel, encourage him some. And he does quote scripture too. It's the same scripture in all his videos, but they're good scriptures. And I'm proud of the guy for doing that, you know. And I think that's all. I already forgot what the redneck ramble was I was going to give you now. But I think taking care of people that needs prayer is more important. And do pray for Michael and pray for Bud. And pray for each other. We've got a good, close-knit family here at my channel. And I thank God for every one of you. I just, y'all are my family. Reverend Pork Chop has picked up that phrase, but when I say it, I'm sincere. Y'all are my family. You know, even my daughter has died, and it's just me in this lonely old world with y'all, and y'all really are my family. Reverend Pork Chop does have family. I think they just don't come to see him a lot. He's got nieces and nephews and granddaughters. But I think that's all, y'all. I am going to see if I can find election returns anywhere. I have been praying for this election more than I've prayed for any other. Back in Texas, I was real deep into politics. You know, that I always heard all my life, practically all my life, don't mix religion and politics. Well, I did. I think if Christians are not involved in politics, we would have a very evil government, kind of like what we got right now. We need somebody, and you know, the Bible says that God is one that appoints kings to all the nations. So whatever's going on in Washington, D.C. right now was appointed by God. For what reason, I don't know, unless it's to wake us up and get us back on the right path again. Because America used to be a God-fearing country, and it's not anymore. It laughs at God. It does things that God calls abominations. And America has taught other countries to be just like it, and that's not good. So, you know, is the present administration the beginning of God's judgment on America? Is it going to continue for another 4 years? I don't know. We'll find out in a day or two. I just sent a message to a friend back in Texas. She and I was working the Republican group for the county I lived in had a big celebration party after the polls closed in 2020. I worked at a poll until it closed, and then I drove 40 miles or however it was to that town where the party was. And that place was packed, y'all, up until about midnight or 1 a.m., and then everybody took off, except for me and a friend of mine, a lady friend, and she and I stayed. We had a TV in there. We stayed and kept watching the returns, and everybody was happy and celebrating the way the returns were coming in and all. And then all of a sudden, it started changing. And I don't remember what time she and I left. It's probably 2 o'clock or something in the morning. When we woke up the next morning, Trump had lost. And it's been one heck of a 4 years ever since. So I guess probably when we wake up tomorrow, we'll see what happened. But y'all, whatever happens, God is in control. And whatever is happening today and tomorrow, God foreordained before the foundation of the earth. So, you know, it is our civil duty to go out and vote. And it is Christians' duty to try to get good, honest people in office. But in the end, everything is foreordained by God. What I do after I turn this camera off, what I do tomorrow morning when I wake up, I'm the one doing it, but God has foreordained it. I really need to share with y'all the attributes of God and the sovereignty of God. The God that we serve, y'all, is very, very extremely awesome. Way more awesome than our minds can comprehend. And we're to give thanks in all things, even for the mess we got in Washington right now. We're to give thanks because for whatever reason, it's God's will that it be there, that they be there. So I don't understand, and I may never understand. And when I get to heaven, it won't matter. So I'm not going to run up and ask God, why did you let Trump lose in 2020? Because it's not going to matter. It doesn't matter now. It's done and over with, you know. And whatever happened today is done and over with. We just don't know the results yet. God does. God knew before you and I was born. And God is on the throne. He'll always be on the throne. And He is always in control. I could go real deep into that subject, but not tonight. Probably not ever. I just encourage you every time, my friend, that you pick up this book right here, the book that is holy. First, pray and ask the Holy Spirit to tutor you as you read God's holy word. And then as you are reading it, as your eyes are going back and forth over the top of all those words, don't just have your eyes go back and forth over those words, Look at what the words say. Think about what the words are saying to you. And every time you read that book, you may get something new from it. I do, and I've read it I don't know how many times. It is the living Word of God, and the Holy Spirit will tutor you. I was struggling with parts of the Bible, not being able to understand. Revelation was one of those parts. And I kept praying, asking God, help me understand this, help me understand it. And I'd go to my MacArthur's Study Bible and read MacArthur's commentary on different parts of Revelation. And it helped some, but I still didn't understand it the way I wanted to understand it. And one day, God, as clear as I am talking to you, God told me, ask the Holy Spirit to tutor you as you read the Bible. And I started right then, and it works, y'all. I guarantee you. And some of y'all, I've been telling y'all this for 2 years. Some of y'all says the same thing now in comments to my videos, that you started asking the Holy Spirit to tutor you, and that you are understanding the Bible a whole lot better now. And I'm glad, because He'll do it, and it will help you. I'm not a teacher. I don't know how to teach. I just basically read God's Word to you, and I pray and ask the Holy Spirit to work in you as I read it to you. And I know He does on some of you, and I pray He does on all of you. Just when He's trying to talk to you, don't shut Him out. Let Him in. Listen to Him. Listen to that still small voice. You'll learn a lot. You'll be a lot happier. You'll be a whole lot more content. You'll stop worrying about everything, because you will realize that God is in control, that He is in charge of everything, that nothing surprises God, and everything will be all right. It often will not be what we wanted, or something may not end up the way we wanted it to, but it will end up the way God wanted it to. And for that, we need to give God glory and praise, and try to see things from His perspective. Eventually we will. Some things may take a while, but eventually we'll see why He did something one way instead of the way we wanted it done. God doesn't make mistakes, y'all. God is never wrong. God is holy. Jesus is holy. Holy Spirit is holy. Me, not so much. I'm working on it. I get a little bit closer every day, but I still got about 5 million miles to go, it seems. But I tell you what, friend, I'm a whole lot holier now than I was 24 years ago. I never committed any of man's laws, well, except for speeding. I think I used to speed everywhere I went, but I never did anything criminal. But I sure broke a bunch of God's laws. I broke just about all of them. I never murdered anybody. Thank God for that. In my mind, I did. And to God, that's the same thing. So I guess I have committed it. That's it, y'all. One more thing. After I voted today, right exactly across the street from the building where we go to vote in my little town, And I had to drive, I think it's 7 blocks from my house to the polling place. And right directly across the street from it is the little grocery store, mom and pop grocery store in this town. And goodness gracious, y'all, food is expensive in that little store. It's expensive at Walmart 40 minutes away, too. But in that little store, it is ridiculous. But I've been wanting to make some candy for Nicole and her 2 young boys, but I didn't have all the ingredients. I used to have, when I thought my house was sold in the springtime, I gave away all my food. I was a prepper. I had enough food to last me over a year in this house. And the guy that's buying my house wanted me out in 2 weeks. And I didn't have time to pack up all that year's worth of food and so forth. So I gave it all away. I gave away all of my gardening equipment, my generator, which had only been used for 15 minutes, and I can't remember what, all my leaf blower and vacuum. It could vacuum them up or it would blow them, and my weed trimmer, just a lot of stuff. My car ramps. Anyway, all the food was gone, so I didn't have anything to make candy with. So that's what, after I voted, I went to the grocery store to buy it. And I bought some pecans. I bought a bag of chopped pecans and a bag of pecan halves. That bag, they were $8.79 a bag, and it was bags like that, little bitty bags, almost $9 each. But I got them, and and they were to go in the candy or in some of it. And then I came home and ate half of the bag, hand after hand. Back in Texas, my little farm I had 19 giant pecan trees on that farm, and they produced abundantly. One year, I would give them away. One year, uh, I weighed all the pecans that I picked up. I had one of those little roller things that you roll and it gathers the pecans, because I couldn't bend over to pick up that many. And so I never picked up all of them. I never came close to picking them up all. I had a lot of squirrels and deer and wild hogs that loved them though. And I sent a box full of pecans to a friend in Wisconsin one time. But anyway, this one year I decided to weigh them, and I stopped weighing at 2,000 pounds, and there was more than that still laying on the ground out back. So I don't know. I probably had 5,000 or 6,000 pounds of pecans, and at that time I've got no idea how well. I guess these bags I got, I think it was a half a pound bag, so that's almost $14 a pound for the shell pecans, and mine was unshelled, so you lose half that weight when you take the shells off, but still 1,000 pounds pecans at $14 a pound. I wish I had them to sell now. But anyway, I'm going to make some candy soon. I'll send Nicole a text and see when she's coming over again and have that candy ready for when she comes. And y'all, I thank every one of you who has been praying for me. This afternoon and this evening, I have felt the best I've felt in a long time. My pain has been low. It's kind of bothering me now, but my pain level has been low half the day at least, And I am so thankful for that. And I thank you all for praying, because I didn't do anything to make the pain go away. I did call and cancel my physical therapy today, and I hated to do that, but this morning I was feeling horrible. I didn't know if I could make it from here 7 or 8 blocks to the polling place, vote, and come back home. But it took me over an hour to get dressed. Well, to get cleaned up and dressed. I think I told y'all about that this morning. And now I got to get undressed. Getting undressed is a little faster, not a lot, but a little. So that'll take up a while. And it's cold again. Today was nice. This shirt was all I wore today. I wore a baseball cap when I went out, but it's cold again now. I'm about to shiver. I started to turn the heater on, but I got it unplugged, so after I end this video, I'll turn it on again. So I think that's it, y'all. But I thank y'all for your prayers for me. I feel good, except for my pain. And my pain is only about a level 7 or 8 right now, not a 20 or 30 on a scale of 10. I've got pain medication, but I haven't taken any. Maybe I will before bed. And I hope y'all pray for me. If anybody's still listening, pray for me tonight. I haven't slept in 2 days. I try and I can't sleep. I don't know why. Well, it's pain. I can't get comfortable. Usually there's one position I can get in that is comfortable, that kind of eases the pain, and it's my whole spine that's messed up. And there's one position normally that I can get in that will ease the pain enough that I can go to sleep. And once I'm asleep, I sleep good unless I roll over, and then the pain wakes me up immediately. But often I'll sleep in that one position all night. I sure would like to do that tonight. I'm tired. But God has given me strength. He's given me energy, and I pretty much had a pain-free day. It was not bad today at all. And whatever else was going on in my body, it's cleared up, and I'm feeling good except for my pain. So I thank y'all for your prayers. And I pray for y'all. Any of you that's been around a while knows that. And I take my praying seriously. Prayer is powerful. God does answer prayer if they're prayed in accordance to his will. And praying for friends is in accordance to his will, and y'all are my friends. So that's that, y'all. As they say in the movie business, that's a wrap. Good night, bye, my friends.